Oh, hi, everybody. We're in. We're starting a little bit early, a few seconds early. There's a lot to cover. There's a lot to cover Trump wise, but everybody's like, AV, why are we not talking about Diddy? You're our resident Cape Verdean. Isn't he on his way to Cape Verde? And I think, as one of the only Cape Verdeans on this platform with some legal chops, with some news chops, I think I can give you an update on that. So we're going to talk about it lightly, but of course, we have a full Trump agenda. I'm excited to be here with you guys. It's been a long 24 hours for me. I went to Celtic last night, and you get what you pay for, right? I decided to show up in a Celtics jersey at a Hawks home game. Let's just say it wasn't very fun, and a guy flipped me off, double bird. That was not okay, but it's okay. I will never forget that moment for the rest of my life, and probably never go to another sporting event after that. But I'm dealing with my trauma. So being back with you guys and, being able to switch the topic and talk about something else is fun. Well, know this, we've got a lot to cover on the Trump thing. Yesterday, we had a huge bond reduction with the Leticia James thing. I have an update with you guys on the Hush case. And then Steve Sadow had a tweet yesterday. We are going to be shifting back to the Fanny thing because it looks like we will be having some arguments presented this Thursday. Going back to Diddy because I know you guys are really itching to talk about that. What do we know? I'm going to give you 5 minutes on this, and we're going to get back to our regular agenda. I will see who we have in the building and go from there. We know that yesterday afternoon, Diddy had his home raided. 2 homes by the Department of Justice, okay, with allegations of sex trafficking that happened. All right. Here's what I will tell you guys. I'm going to do this quick episode on Trump. But for those of you guys that are really interested in this story, give Lead and I like 2 hours, and we're trying to organize some things because we might actually have one of the people involved. We're trying to schedule some things. Jump on that stream. But no, we're going to stream on it today. So you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait. We're going to talk about it. But I'm just going to give you my thoughts quickly as a resident Cape Verdean here on YouTube. But that's what we know. We know that Diddy's homes got raided, both of them, 2 of them, one in Miami, one in California, in LA, in the LA area. The raids happened simultaneously at the same time, which means that it was a coordinated effort. And the other thing that you guys know is I'm going to give you the legal chops with this. Typically, when something like that happens, the DOJ had to obtain a search warrant to search his homes and his properties. The search warrant needs to be detailed. There needs to be specific information or specific things that they're looking for. In addition to the specificities, if there's allegations of trafficking, that's why this is on the DOJ. Did I say DOJ, Department of Justice? Sorry, guys. I meant Homeland Security. This does not look good for Diddy. Now, in one of the homes, his sons were home at the time, and both of his sons were taken outside and put in handcuffs, right? Diddy at the time was in flight and on his way to Antigua. Now, I'm telling you guys this as your resident Cape Verdean on YouTube. And the only reason why I know this is because my family is actually a part of the Cape Verdean government. In fact, the last president before the current one is related to us. So I had a great conversation with my dad this morning because there were news outlets reporting that Diddy was on his way to Cape Verde. And I tell you guys all the time, if you really follow me, you're like, what is Cape Verde? You've never heard of it outside of New England. You've never heard of it. Talked to my dad this morning. I'm like, Dad, got like eight islands Is Diddy there? Because well, no, he's just like, no, he's definitely not here. So I do want to say, guys, the allegations of Sean Diddy Combs actually being in Cape Verde right now and fleeing to Cape Verde is fake news. All right. The Antigua thing is correct news, but he is not, I can confirm, in Cape Verde right now. So again, Lead and I are going to go live on this later today. So if you're interested in that story, we'll talk about it later. Now, I will say this, just being funny. One of the most disturbing things that I learned about Diddy back in November when Lead and I read you guys the Cassie complaint is this. And I think I need to show you something because you can't always believe, unfortunately, you can't always believe what you see in the news. And I see you legally live. That's super, super nice of you. But I want to show you one thing because the world works in mysterious ways. It truly does. Like synchronicity, all of that. I'm going to land this plane with a joke. But before I do, I just want to take you back one more time to the Sean Diddy Combs original complaint that Lead and I read to you guys in November. This is Cassie filing this. Cassie Cassandra Ventura. Cassie, the artist. At the top of this document, and shout out to Nick Ricada, I actually covered this with him on his side. The top of it says trigger warning. This document contains highly graphic information of a sexual nature, including sexual assault. Weird, right? This is highly irregular to be at the heading of a legal document. Super highly irregular. But one thing that I want to show you guys is this. I'm typing in the words white nail polish. Why? It says here, Combs insisted that Cassie wear white nail polish to contrast her nails with the skin of the black men he hired to have sex with her. These things were called freak-offs. Super gross, right? Super wild. The only reason why I'm bringing that up is because of this. Before the story broke yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, I went to get my nails done. And I, like women, you'll identify with this. Like every 2 weeks when we get our nails done, we pick a different color. It's spring. And when I read that in the complaint, I never wanted to get white nail polish on my nails again. And so yesterday I'm picking a color. I'm like, maybe I'll go with light pink. Maybe I'll go with something else. I decided to do white nail polish. And this damn story broke yesterday. What the hell? What are the odds of that? Why? Diddy, you ruined white nail polish for all women in America. This is awful. I can, now I have freak off nails. I have freak off nails for 2 weeks. And your house just got raided yesterday, and now I'm stuck with freak off nails for 2 weeks. This is terrible. So I needed to start the stream with a small disclaimer on the Diddy thing. So when Lead and I stream later today, unfortunately, I'm stuck with freak off nails. Can't take them off. It's gel. I can't file them off. I can't do anything in protest. I'm stuck with freak off nails. Okay. Are you guys ready to talk about Trump? Let me say hi to a few of you guys before we get started. But I needed to start with that funny story because you can't make it up. I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Gaia Incognito, that's the Diddy news. Look, this is the Diddy news. We're stuck with freak off nails. Shout out to E. Capone, who says the courts have been more exciting than Hollywood these days. I mean, hasn't it? There's just so much going on. I am trying to keep track of all four of the Trump cases at the same time because the Fanny thing, we talked about it on Sunday. She shouldn't have been talking. Still went out there and started talking. We are going to be going back to court on Thursday. Trump has a motion that's going to be in front of Judge McAfee, and there's another defendant that has 2 motions that are going to be in front of Judge McAfee. So hopefully we can live stream for that for you guys. This New York case is still ongoing, but there's also the hush money case that's coming too. So I'm trying my best to really look at all of that. But yes, E Capone, it is court's great, I guess. It's great. Shout out to I Am That Somebody. Good to see you in here. Galatians, good to see you, sis. Always good to see you in here. Hi, Audrey. Good to see you too. E Capone says, "Boo, Celtics." Listen, I'm telling you, I thought Southern people were nice. I showed up in that Celtics jersey last night, and they like, for a dude to flip me off and say "F you" like with passion. I was like, damn. I asked for it. I shouldn't have worn the jersey, but I asked for it. You're not rooting for the home team, you know? So thank you so much, E Capone, with the first super of the afternoon. Appreciate it. Shout out to Laura, who says, "So glad to catch a live stream." I'm glad that you're here too, Laura, and love the family picture. It looks fantastic. Shout out to John, who says, "What up, AV7?" All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and move to get started. Hopefully you saw my little tidbit on freak off nails. It's going to be a long 2 weeks. Shout out to Legally Live, super generous. This is an attorney down in the Texas area. I love her. She is a YouTuber herself, super funny, super personable, has been supporting me for the past few months. And I think when we first started talking about the Diddy case, Legally Live was around. And I know you remember when you and I were chatting and we're like, Diddy's ruined white nail polish for all women. He really has. Like now I can't, like now I'm stuck. And this is the first time I tried it. The first time I waited months. When did that complaint drop in November? December, January, February, March. I waited 4 months to use this color again. Legally Live. She sends $50 and says they lied on your homeland. They did. Here's what I will say. People were saying that he was heading that way because there are no extradition laws there. With family and government there, I can tell you that that is partially true. There is a little bit more of a lax extradition system there because, like, guys, it's a set of 10 islands off the west coast of Africa. We're African and Portuguese. It's not a third world country, but it's like super chill. There's only 500,000 people that live there. So I would not be surprised if he chose that's where the place where he was going to flee. But we also just need to fact check things before news gets out. He's still in Antigua from what we know. And in Antigua, I believe that there's like this private jet charter that he was on, and the private jet had landed, and Diddy was actually trying to figure things out with his sons at the moment. So he is not in Cape Verde, guys. Let me just confirm that again. But yes, they have put some false news out there as far as my homeland, right? So interesting because it's so small, guys. These islands are tiny. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows where everything's at. There's literally like 3 airports. If Diddy was there, we would know. He's not there. So, anywho, I want to thank you, Legally Live, for the generous super. And guys, if any of my mods are in the chat, if you can quickly go to Legally Live's channel, grab her link and share it with everyone, that'd be fantastic. Super sharp attorney down in Dallas. And I know she goes live quite often. So spreading the love around here. She's amazing. Shout out to Omac, who says TMZ has a video of Diddy in Miami detained, but not arrested. Did that just come out? Omac. Okay. Let's get through this Trump thing. If it has come out, I'm trying to take notes too, because like I said, Lead and I are going to cover this topic later. We will get on it. We will have all the updates. We have a special surprise for you guys, so stay tuned for that, okay? Thank you so much, Omac. Thank you also for coming up last stream. I appreciate you. You had some really great insights to add to the conversation. Shout out to Sass in the Philippines, who says, "What's up, AV? Keep up the good work. Thank you so much." Also, content creator Sass is in the Philippines and has some examples of, I think your content is kind of around Filipino life, living there, traveling there, those sorts of things. So same thing. Check out Sass. Great brother, great content creator. Okay, guys, let's get to the Trump news so we are all caught up. Okay. What do we know? What did the thumbnail show you? Yesterday, we saw this. Okay, you ready? Yesterday, we knew Leticia James was coming after his money, right? We knew that there was an appeal that was pending. Bam! Look, we have it. We have the appeal here. The Supreme Court of New York, Appellate Division, First Judicial Department. Trump actually made an appearance in New York yesterday. And this was surrounding, if in case you've been living under a rock, the last time Lee and I covered this, I believe it was Friday. And we were looking at the possibility of Trump having to pay over $400 million in a bond. And what is this case about? This case is about, and I'm going to take you down for a second, Sass. This case is about Trump borrowing from lenders. And, New York is upset because, and you guys know I have a communications and banking background. They were upset because they alleged that Trump had inflated the amount that his properties were worth as he was making these deals with these banks. You guys know, especially those of you that own property or commercial real estate, typically when you are borrowing from a bank, any bank, one of the things that comes along with that is an appraisal. But banks typically have a very vigorous risk assessment process. Before they decide to lend to someone, each of them individually, each of these banks is going to have a risk assessment process to see if it's safe to lend to a borrower. They will look at things on a personal level, like credit history, things like that. But on a commercial business level, they'll look at things like revenue. They will look at things like your tax returns, how much revenue the business has brought in over a span of years. Typically, it could range from like 3 to 5, maybe a decade. But the higher you borrow, the more heightened those risk standards are going to be. So a lot of people are in the camp of, well, if you guys had an issue with him borrowing all of this money, the banks maybe should have had heightened risk standards, right? So that's a huge argument that we see with this. At the same time, AG Leticia James is, from what we are hearing, upset at the outcome of this bond being slashed by nearly half. We also saw Trump come back on Friday, this past Friday, saying, hey, listen, 400 million, I can't even get the surety from people. I can't even go to companies, bond companies, to get the sureties on this because the issue is commercial real estate, right? I'm not putting Mar-a-Lago on the market. I'm not selling anything that has to go with my new app. We're not doing that. At the end of the day, no one was hurt here. There are no victims. These banks were paid. But what we are being sued for is the fact that they were not paid what they could have been paid, because there's an allegations of the inflation of how much the properties were worth. An appraisal will absolutely quash that, but that's the other thing. A lot of this stuff is just being piled in at once. It doesn't really help. You know what's so crazy, guys? I keep looking at myself in this monitor over here. When you guys complain that I don't look in the camera, it's because I'm looking at a monitor right here. I keep looking at the white nails and I keep thinking about Diddy's freak-offs. Focus, AV, focus. Okay. So let's go through yesterday's court document that was dropped. A lot of people have been reporting on the news that, hey, the bond was slashed in half. But let's look at what the actual Court of Appeals in New York ruled on, what they actually said, and go from there, right? We have a panel of 5 judges, and I'll make myself smaller. We have a panel of 5 judges. We have Renwick, Singh, Gonzalez, Pitt Burke, and O'Neill Levy. Okay. And this is the people of the state of New York by Leticia James, AG, against who? 1, Donald J. Trump, Trump Jr., Eric, Alan Weisselberg, Jeffrey Connie, the Trump Revocable Trust, the Trump Organization, the Trump Organization LLC, DJT Holdings Managing Member, Trump Endeavor 12 LLC, 401 North Wabash Venture LLC, Trump Old Post Office LLC. This is basically all of his companies and holdings. Okay, so you have all of these defendants here. You have all of these defendants in this particular document. Then they have Ivanka as well. I find it weird that she's just kind of like hanging out there in this heading. Hopefully that's just a formatting problem. But anywho, that's what we're seeing. So let's see what they ruled upon. This is fairly short. What we are seeing is the appeals have been taken to this court from an order of the Supreme Court, New York County, entered on or about February 16th, 2024. And the judgment of the same court and justice entered on or about February 23rd, 2024. And defendants having moved pursuant to CPLR to stay enforcement of the aforesaid order and ensuing judgment, pending hearing and determination of the appeals taken therefrom. Don't you guys love that legalese? Now, upon reading and filing the papers with respect to the motion, and due deliberation had been thereon. Here is the actual order. And notice how short this document is. This is really just one paragraph. That first page really set up what we were going to look at. But, you know, like it's not really giving you much after the fact. Usually these legal documents can be pages upon pages long. But let's keep going. It says, it is ordered that the judgment is granted. Okay, it's granted to the extent of staying enforcement of these portions of the judgment. Okay, so it looks like they give 5 conditions. Let's start with 1. Ordering disgorgement to the Attorney General of $464 million, I'm not going to go through that, conditioned on the defendant's appellate posting within 10 days to the date of this order. They reduced it to $175 million. So what does that mean? The first thing that the appeals court said is that Trump will not have to pay $464 million. Instead, they're going to reduce it. So they're going to play ball here. They're going to reduce it by little bit over half to $175 million. Okay, so that means that was a win for the Trump team, because the last document that we saw stated that this bond, this $464 million, was excessive. No one is hurt here, but also at the same time, if we're trying to get this money for you, we're going to companies, and these companies are saying, hey, it's not feasible. Leticia James and team came back and said, no, it is feasible. What you should do is go to, because if you contacted 40 companies, each of them should give you a slice of the pie. And that will give you your 464. Instead of going to one to fund the whole thing, you should go to all 40 and see if each of them could take a 20, a 10, a 50 and add it all up and get to 464. What does the court say here? That was unreasonable. And they're going to reduce it down to 175. Okay. Huge win. And that's how they started off. So that's a huge win. Number 2, permanently barring defendants Weisselberg and McConney from serving in the financial control function in any New York corporation or similar business entity. Now, I will say this, for those 2 defendants, this kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's not that bad, because if they operate and if they were in charge of the finances for these organizations, they're basically saying, all we have jurisdiction over is the state of New York. So in these borders, you 2 people cannot serve in any jobs where you have financial control functions in our state. Fine. That could work anywhere else. So let's go to 3. I mean, granted, you still might have the scarlet letter. You still might have the scarlet letter. So it might be difficult to find work. But most of the time, when people are in positions like this, C-suite and above, director level and above, you typically will take care of your money, or we will assume, and let's hope that you have, right? Like, you'll take care of your assets. You'll make sure that you're okay. So if you need to take some time off from working, that's fine. New York is arguably one of the epicenters for all things money in the world. You know, you have the New York Stock Exchange, you have a lot of the nation's banks headquartered there. It is a huge place for money. So for someone of that caliber that has this type of job, you know, we can argue that it could still be a death sentence for your career, but that's in respect to those two defendants. Let's take it back and let's go to number 3. Number 3 talks about barring defendant Donald J. Trump. So now they're adding him with the 2 other guys, Weisselberg and McConney, from serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation for 3 years. So again, building upon what I just said, guys, is now you have the other 2 defendants that they can't do anything that's financially related. Now you're adding Trump in the mix, but all 3 of these people cannot serve as a director of any New York corporation. Fine. It's your state. Okay. You can govern the business laws in your state. Let's go to 4. 4 says barring the defendant, Donald J. Trump, and the corporate defendants from applying for loans from New York financial institutions for 3 years. You know, I kind of have a problem with this one a little bit. And if you're familiar with the law, there's a lot of attorneys that are in this community. If you're familiar with the law, and I remember taking business law way back in my early years of law school, one of the things that a lot of corporations will do is when they are centered in a place, you have your principal place of doing business, which is like the place where your offices reside. But most businesses will operate out of Delaware, right? So you'll see that. You'll see joint places where there's a place where it's operated and there's a place where they're incorporated. And some business owners might be able to identify with that, right? So you might have seen that before. It's difficult if you are a corporation that has a building in New York, because technically you're operating there, but you're also operating in other states and major cities across the United States or across the world, right? So it's interesting, but they are basically saying, hey, Trump, if any of your organizations are registered in New York, you can't do business here anymore. At least apply for loans here for 3 years. It's not a long time. 5, barring defendants Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump for serving as an officer or director of any New York corporation in New York for 2 years. So now they're coming for the sons. Now they're like, Don Jr., Eric, you guys cannot serve on any boards for 2 years. For them, I mean, they're young guys. 2 years is not a long time. But if you look at this, a lot of people are commentating, and if we look at sections 1 through 5, if we look at what I just walked you guys through, it's actually kind of, compared to what it could have been, I'm not going to use the word reasonable, but it could have been worse, is what I will say. It could have been worse. Barring people from being in a financial controller position, barring Trump himself from being in a director position, barring the sons from serving on any boards of directors in the world of business. Okay, 2 or 3 years. It could be worse. It could be worse. So it's hard to call repercussions like this a win, especially when New York is one of the centers of commerce in the world, right? But at the same time, who knows what these other brothers have going on, if there's places where they can operate in other states, things like that. So let's keep going. The aforesaid stay is conditioned on the defendant's appellants perfecting the appeals for the September 2024 term of this court. Ooh, that's interesting. So they talk about terms because the judges are going to change, right? You could have new judges. The motion is otherwise denied, including to the extent to seek its stay of enforcement of portions of the judgment. Number one, extending and enhancing the role of the monitor. And number two, directing the installation of an independent director of compliance. So this is ordered as of yesterday, entered into court. Susana Rojas, clerk of the court, and that concludes the end of the document. What does that mean? That means that there is a little bit of time to get stuff done here. Number one, we need to make sure that the 175 million is paid in 10 days. Okay. Here's the restrictions against the other people. Okay. That's what the Court of Appeals is saying. And then we can start to all move on from the shenanigans of this case. Okay. That is your update. And I'm going to look at a few supers and we're going to go from there. Because the other thing that I want to do is talk a little bit about the hush case. Trump did have a brief moment this morning or yesterday morning where he kind of briefed everybody on talking about his stance on it. The hush money thing, what you're going to see in news is like, Stormy's going to come after Trump and, Michael Cohen's coming too. Like all those things are happening. So I just wanted to at least give you an update on that one. And then we'll go to Boots because Boots put out a tweet that I thought was super interesting for you guys. All right, let's go back to the supers. Shout out to Dayanara who says freak off nails. I mean, he's ruined white nails. And here's the thing. This is a fantastic manicure. I love it. I'm so happy with it. But now all I can think about is Diddy. There's nothing I can do about that, Dayanara. Like now they're just called freak off nails. I don't even want to put that on merch because like poor Cassie and what she went through. But now if Homeland Security is looking into Diddy, I mean, if they're executing a search warrant simultaneously at both homes, and of course they knew that you were going to be flying. The plot thickens. I can't wait to do that with Lee later today. I mean, the plot thickens on this one. Woo, I can't wait to cover the Diddy case. Shout out to Truth, Lies, and Opinions. Wow, Truth. Oh my goodness. Super generous of you. She drops $100 and says, hi, young lady. Been busy with my family. Always first. Family first. That's right. People need to be educated about Trump. How can they say Mar-a-Lago is worth 18 million when in 1920 it sold for 20 million? A 2-acre lot sells for 100 million without revenue. The uniparty totalitarian tyrants. I mean, that's the other thing. We talked about this on Friday, Truth, Lies, and Opinions, and I hope your family is doing well. If you have some time over the week, I would actually encourage you to check out that stream. We were talking about that because, some of us are homeowners, some of us have owned, commercial real estate, and we know that appraisals are everything. It is not going to social blue book influencer. It is not just going to Kelly Blue Book for a car or going to, Zillow and Redfin and some of these other websites to see how much a property is worth. You need an appraiser to go out and actually conduct an appraisal, right? So for people, and I think in particular when the judge in this case cited that, Mar-a-Lago was worth so low, it was like, okay, it's huge. It's a country club. Look at what they're offering just for memberships. I think one of you guys on a super chat said that one of the memberships at Mar-a-Lago is like $200K a year or a month or something crazy like that. You also have to think about all of those things when you're evaluating a property to fully talk about how much it's worth, right? So Truth, Lies, and Opinions, thank you so much. $100, super generous of you. You're definitely the stream sponsor, so I'm going to pop you in the banner. And again, I hope the family is doing well. Thank you so much. I always love when women support me. There's not a lot of women that watch me, to be honest, guys. My channel is comprised of 70% men, but the about 39 to 40%, 30% women that support me. It means a lot because I know a lot of people are not very fond of President Trump and, not fond of justice. I'm a student of justice, always will be. I always want the right thing to happen at the end of the day. And if a former president can be treated in a specific way, any of us can be treated in that specific way. So, it could be you. The roles can always be reversed. And everybody comes up here and they're like, yeah, well, he did some bad things. Maybe he did. But every defendant in this country can do some bad things, but they still have rights. All of us have those same rights, so super interesting stuff. Stream sponsor, truth, lies, and opinions. If you guys can type in TLO in the chat, that would really mean a lot to me. Thank you so much, TLO. Strong sister, high value sister, also a veteran of this country, has done her time and has supported us in our time of need as well. So thank you so much for your service. Salute to you, sister. Thank you. Shout out to Audrey with a $10 super. No comment, no question. Pure love of the game. Thank you so much, Audrey. Shout out to Corey, who's become a new member. Corey, thank you so much and welcome to the community. Guys, I like to tell my members that I treat you guys as shareholders, right? I had a question the other day. Like it's like instant data for me to make decisions on this channel. I asked you guys a question on a particular thing or a particular strategy that we use. And the feedback that I got was so thoughtful, so nice, so balanced. You guys are amazing. So Corey, welcome to that community. Guys, if you're thinking about becoming a member, you can become a member if you're watching on a desktop by hitting the join button down below. And it's right above the description. It should be a black button that says join. If you're watching from a mobile device, I believe if you hit the little cash icon, shout out to Cash. If you hit the cash icon, it will talk to you about memberships. And our community is amazing. A lot of people gift out memberships, right? Joe Ethereal did that on the last stream. Thane has done that on some of the streams. So people really see value in this effort, right? So I thank you guys for that. And Corey, welcome. Shout out to TLO again. She dropped $200. Wow, TLO. Firstly, before I read this, again, I want to thank you for your service. And all military people that are watching this, thank you for your service. Thank you for keeping our country safe. We owe you so much. And, sometimes you guys are not treated well later in life when it comes to benefits and retirement and all of that stuff. But sometimes you are treated exceptionally well, right? I got an email from a service member, I think yesterday, and he didn't think I was going to read it, and I did. It's on my list to respond to him. But I almost went to the Navy myself. So I have a huge, huge respect for you guys. I was in Naval JROTC in high school. I was this close to going. So, you guys have a special place in my heart. I was on honor guard. So, it was like everything was ironed up. Everything was looking good. Like honor guard was super important to me. So truth, lies, and opinions. Firstly, thank you for your service. Thank you again for becoming the stream sponsor. And I just, the fact that you believe in me this much to drop a single penny is huge. What does TLO say here? She says, think about why they use these Black attorneys. James, Bragg, Fannie, on cases no one else would touch. They're being paid. Look at all of their issues. The racist left aren't going to let a Black person prosecute a white man. It's about breaking Trump. Never happening. He's gangster. It's so funny. Lee and I met someone while we were out and about in Atlanta like a week ago, and he had a t-shirt on. Like we were talking to him. He's just like, hey, watch your channel. Really good stuff. We're like, hey, good to meet you. Great, brother. Do you know he unzipped his sweater and it had a Trump, like the Trump tee that said, never surrender. It was amazing. It was amazing. So it's always good to meet you guys out in person. But yeah, I think that this is, we're in an election year. I don't think that we're not going to see a lot more happening in these next few months. It's going to be very busy. I'm trying to stay on the legal stuff with you guys and look at that together with you. So we're not coming from a place of bias. We are looking at legal documents, okay, that other people have filed. So it is not bias. We're looking at these legal documents, these legal filings based off of law. And to your point, TLO, I mean, look at this. This is a judges, a panel of 5 judges looking at this and saying, hey, 464 million, a little bit excessive. We'll play ball. We'll reduce it by half, but, we're also going to say 2 years for this person, banned in the state of New York. 2 years for this person, banned in the state of New York. But it's also kind of reasonable. It's not 10. It's not 20. It's not in perpetuity. It's not forever. And it's also like, hey, we're going to have some other judges in here soon. So we need to be reasonable. It's actually pretty good that they did this. I mean, it would be amazing if he didn't have to pay any penalties and this case wasn't leading to the point where you have to spend all this money to litigate it. It's crazy. It's crazy. So Truth, Lies, and Opinions, thank you so much. Like, I can't thank you enough for being a tremendous pillar in my community and in Leeds community. So much love for you. Thank you. And again, if you guys could type in TLO in the chat, that would be fantastic. Shout out to Lady Di. Lady Di, I modded you. You are a mod. And you know what? Let me go ahead and make TLO a mod too, if I can find her in the chat. If I don't do it right now, I'll do it later, but I will absolutely make you a mod too. I recently modded Lady Di. I always love what she has to say. She is truly a pillar in my channel as well. Go ahead and add as a moderator. There we go. TLO, welcome to the mod community. But Lady Di has given you guys 10 AV to the 7th power memberships. What does that mean? I mentioned it when we were looking at Corey's membership, right? You get a lot of benefits, and those benefits really just, include you becoming an insider into this community, helping us make the community better. I will ask you questions on what we can do to improve, and I really value your feedback and opinions. So the fact that Lady Di is gifting out memberships, it's showing that she's truly supporting what we're doing here. So Lady Di, thank you. If you guys could type in Di in the chat, DI in the chat. If I could see that, that would be fantastic. And Lady Di, thank you so much for gifting memberships. If you guys have received a membership by Lady Di, please do her the honor of saying thank you. I really would appreciate that. All right, shout out to Sherry, who says, love to watch so much information. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Sherry. Like, I try to make it entertaining. I'm stuck with freak off nails, but at least we're going to get this show done. The show must go on, even with freak off nails. Shout out to Catherine. No comment, no question. Pure love of the game at $1.99. Thank you so much, Catherine. And then lastly, shout out to Toochman Family Fun and Resale. Order says they can do business while they appeal. Thank you for that clarification, Tooch. Yes, they can do business while they appeal. I think it's that very last part that mentions that, but thank you for the clarification. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to leave New York for a moment because that was a huge win, a part of yesterday's news. What we are going to do is go to the shenanigans of Stormy Daniels. And of course, we're going to pull up a news clip that's like, hey, Trump was snapping at someone today. And it's just like, really, Leslie? This came out approximately 2 hours ago. It's The Hill. And the title reads, Trump lashes out at a judge in hush money case after the trial date is set. Now, hush money case. You guys know what's happening with that one. I'm not going to bring you up to speed. But there is a trial date upcoming. Today is March 26th. Let me just pause it because we're going to go to his comment first. Today is March 26th, and the trial date has been set for April 15th. So as you can see, we just left one case And we're already battling another one in the next few days. It's also tax day. So we have that. Haven't even gotten on the Fannie thing because we're going back to court this Thursday too. So all of these cases are crazy. I don't know how Donald does this. I really don't. Like, to be battling 3 or 4 cases at once and, you know, trying to get back into the White House. It's insane. It's insane. So let's start with him, and then we'll go to this article and see what they mention. But I want to go here to see what he says. Let's hear from the Don.
Would have no problem testifying. I didn't do anything wrong.
And would you be concerned that conviction, if you are convicted in that trial, could cost you the election, given what Todd said?
Well, it could also make me more popular because the people know it's a scam. It's a Biden trial. This is a Biden. There is no trial. There's a Biden trial. This is all done by the Democrat Party, and it's all done by Biden and his group. I don't know if it's Biden because I don't know if Biden is even sharp enough. I don't know if Biden knows what's happening. You want to know the truth? Maybe he does. He probably does. But this is all done by Biden and the thugs that work for Biden. And it's a very bad thing. It's a very dangerous thing for our country. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
All right. That concludes this Hill piece. And really what they're talking about here. Sorry, I'm just going to mute that. They say former President Trump lashed out Tuesday at a judge who rejected attempts to delay hush money in the New York trial, calling him a certified Trump hater. Judge Juan Merchan at a Monday hearing set the trial for April 15th. And remember, guys, this is all yesterday. Both of these things came out yesterday. Denying Trump the chance to delay his criminal trials until after the November election. So that's actually what Trump wanted to do. He wanted to wait until after the election to fight some of this stuff. This judge is saying that, no, you're not going to wait. We're going to do it on April 15th. Here's a quote that says, Judge Juan Merchan is a very disgusting, I said disgusting. That's my bad. That's not a typo. I said that incorrectly. Is a very distinguished looking man, is nevertheless a true and certified Trump hater who suffers from a very serious case of Trump derangement syndrome. The former president posted to Truth Social. In other words, he hates me. His post reference reports that Merchan's daughter is an executive at a progressive digital agency and said the judge treated a long-term employee elderly and not good faith. An apparent reference to Alan Weisselberg, the Trump organization's former chief financial officer. Merchan oversaw Weisselberg's criminal trial, which ended with a plea deal that saw him sentenced to 5 months in jail for his participation in the tax fraud scheme. Trump's lawyers accused Merchan of overstepping by attempting to induce Weisselberg to cooperate against Trump. Trump's attorneys cited both issues when they called Merchan to recuse himself last year. In a separate post on Tuesday, Trump called for Merchan to step down because he cannot give me a fair trial, in caps. These country-destroying scoundrels and thugs have no case against me. Witch hunt, again, in caps. Trump, the presumptive Republican presidential nominee, has looked to postpone all 4 of his criminal cases past the November election. The hush money trial was scheduled to begin Monday, but Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Braggs at the last minute allowed a multi-week delay. U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York turned over more than 100,000 pages of records. Jeez. Trump argued that Bragg is working with crooked Biden in the ridiculous case against him. The parties convened for a hearing on Monday to sort out through the document issue, both sides trading blame for why the documents were presented so late. Trump was in attendance, so he was in New York yesterday, and comments after the hearing, he reiterated his claims that the cases against him are efforts to intervene in the upcoming election. The trial should not be allowed to start in the middle of my campaign for president, he said. They could have filed more than 3 years ago. They waited. He has been charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records. So his former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, who paid adult film star Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 election to stay quiet about the alleged affair she had with Trump. The former president has pled not guilty. So that's what we have on this one. This is the hush money case. We will see what happens with it. It has been pushed up. There was a request to have it dealt with post-election, but April 15th, this is now another thing that's on our radar. So I think right now we're going to be watching the Fani Willis thing, and we're going to be watching this one because going into the summer, I don't even know how he's going to do it. He has to campaign. He has to go to all these states and campaign. I don't know how he's going to do it. It's insane. So we're going to see. We are going to see. And let me just make sure I'm all caught up here, and I will take you guys to the third story, and we're going to wrap up because I do need to get ready for the stream with Lead on the Diddy thing later this afternoon. The next thing we're going to cover is our friend Steve Shoutout. So we are now coming back to Atlanta, and we're looking at Steve Shoutout's Twitter. Why are we looking at Boots' Twitter? Well, Boots posted something yesterday, and it brings us to 11 Alive, right? 11 Alive is probably one of the okay news stations locally here in Atlanta. And it looks like we have a hearing date from Judge McAfee. Judge McAfee is saying this Thursday he's going to hear 3 motions. All right. So Steve Shoutout's like, hey, one of my motions is of the 3. The first motion is Donald Trump still trying to, or not even trying to, there's a motion to dismiss that's going to be heard by Judge McAfee on Thursday. On what grounds? Because Steve is saying, hey, the president asked the question, where are the votes? All right. I need 11,000 votes. Some people, and we talked about this, are on the spectrum of the question about where the votes are, could have been malicious and attempted to like fraudulently secure those votes, or other people are on the spectrum of asking the question, like, where are they? Innocently asking, like, where are they? There's so much data when it comes to elections. There's so much projection that comes to elections that you have a pretty good understanding of what the turnout's going to be. And then the day of is the actual, this is what the turnout is, right? It's a solidification. So Steve is using the argument of the First Amendment, freedom of speech. You can ask a question, right? So that is motion number 1 that's going to be heard. And one of the defendants has 2 motions that are going to be heard on Thursday as well. So it's a busy week. If you guys don't see me tomorrow, it's probably because I'm trying to shave off my freak off nails, but it's also because I'm going to be preparing for Thursday as well. Here's what happens. If they live stream it, then we'll try to live stream it. If they do not live stream the proceedings, then either I'm going to be taking notes here or taking advantage of being in Atlanta, seeing if I can get to the courthouse and if they'll let me in with a press pass or something. We'll see. It would be good to look at that stuff and recap it for you guys. So that way you have a full report that is based on law and going from there. Okay. Let's continue on with this one. So, and this also happened yesterday. All 3 of these things happened yesterday. In a Monday afternoon order, Fulton County Superior Judge Scott McAfee, a cool 34, set a new hearing date for the 2020 election interference case. Attorneys representing former President Trump and former Georgia Republican Party David Schaefer are back in court on Thursday for a hearing to hear 3 motions according to the judge's order. Former President Trump claims his conduct was protected by the First Amendment speech. So this is the first motion that's going to be heard on Thursday. Steve Shoutout, Boots, has asked the court to dismiss the indictment against Trump. He argues that Trump's alleged criminal conduct was actually political speech protected under the First Amendment, which is a fair argument. This court should hold that the First Amendment guarantee of freedom of speech, which applied to the core political speech and expressive conduct alleged in the indictment against the President of the United States, demands a pretrial remedy, and that remedy is dismissal of the indictment. Steve Shoutout wrote in a December motion. So he's been saying this for quite some time, guys. He's been trying to get this dismissed for months. And it looks like this came from a December motion. In a January court filing, prosecutors responded to the claims of the First Amendment protection, arguing that the defendant's crimes, as alleged in the indictment, are not protected by political speech and should not be shielded from prosecution by the First Amendment. That's what Fannie's team is saying. They're saying that what he said was not protected by the First Amendment. He can't use it. So look at how long ago that motion was filed. That motion was filed in March. We just dealt with a motion to disqualify to see if Fannie can come off of the case, and it looks like she's staying on. An appeal just went up, right? That's still going to be on its way up. Appeals court's still looking at it. But these other motions that have been backed up because we've been so delayed with seeing if we could take Fannie off, which takes more importance compared to some of the other things. I told you guys, like Scott McAfee's probably got a pile of motions on his desk. There's 17 defendants, 17 plus. 2 of them are going to be heard just for one of the defendants. One of them is going to be heard on defendant Trump. So Thursday's a big day. We're going to listen to all 3. Now, let's go back to Schaefer because he has the other 2 motions that are coming up on Thursday. Schaefer argues that he was following the advice of legal counsel. Fannie has alleged that Schaefer played a role in advancing a false slate of presidential electors and an attempt to overturn the lawful results of the presidential election. However, Schaefer's legal team has asked the court to dismiss the charges against him, arguing that Fannie seeks to punish criminal conduct by Schaefer, which was lawful at the time, according to a February court filing. And nearly all of the charged conduct, Schaefer was attempting to comply with the advice of legal counsel and the express requirements of the former Federal Election Count Act. The motion continued. That's motion number 2. Motion number 3. Schaefer asked the court to strike language related to false electoral college votes from the indictment. That's important to him. In another February motion, Schaefer's legal team asked the judge to strike the indictment following phrases. This is interesting. He wants 3 phrases taken out. What are the 3 phrases? Duly elected and qualified presidential electors, false electoral college votes, and lawful electoral college votes. Schaefer's attorneys argued that prosecutors, Fannie's team, by using that language, reached conclusions that were actually questions for the court for the jury at the trial. Mr. Schaefer disputes the prosecution's prejudicial and conclusionary allegations related to presidential electors. Additionally, the legal team asked the court to dismiss 3 counts against Schaefer related to the false elector plot. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis and other prosecutors responded to Schaefer's motion with a court filing of their own. Fannie's team says the state struggles to understand the rationale behind the defendant's motion and is not supported by any authority. Judge McAfee will hear arguments on the above issues in court on Thursday morning. So that's what we got. We have a pretty busy week, guys. Super busy week, and freak off nails are a distraction, right? But Thursday is going to be a big day as far as Fulton County and what we're looking at. We can see if there is going to be a motion to dismiss granted by Boots. However, Schaefer, I think, has a pretty good argument too, because remember last week or 2 weeks ago at this point, who knows what time looks like anymore. 2 weeks ago, before Judge McAfee's ruling on March 15th, on the 13th, we got some of the charges dropped for not only Trump, but some of the other defendants. So I do think that Schaefer's team is looking to get rid of some of these as well, right? Which, can you blame them? There's a lot going on here, right? Let me catch up with you guys in the supers, and then we will move to wrap up. Shout out to Catherine, who sends a super sticker. Thank you so much, Catherine. She sends a $4.99 super sticker. I like that little picture there. Thank you. Shout out to Kat, one of my favorite people. Kat, oh my goodness. As I was at this basketball game, I saw your email come in, and she's like, it's so funny that like Diddy put Cape Verde on the map. I always joke with you guys that no one will ever understand this country that my family's from. Like you've probably never heard of it unless you've come to this channel or met another Bostonian from this place, right? It's so crazy. Like we're all just, I don't know, the migration path in the 70s was just in New England. It didn't go south. Like there's a few Cape Verdeans in Florida now, and then a few in like California, but that's it. You know, like that's all. So Kat, thank you so much for sending your email. I'm sorry I didn't respond, but I did see it. Also, Kat is a law tuber. I collaborated with her on the Jonathan Majors case and how crazy that case is. I think she's still hitting the gas on that one and providing some updates on it, but she is in the law tube community and has gifted 5 of you guys AV to the 7th Power memberships. Kat, thank you. If one of the mods can drop Kat's channel in the chat, and Kat, I know that your username is a little bit different from what we see, so if you don't mind dropping it, that would be fantastic as well. Kat, thank you. Always a huge supporter of me, huge supporter of the lead attorney for years, long time supporter. So Kat has a big heart for me on this end. Hope you're doing well, Kat. Shout out to, oh, and let me say this. If you received a membership from Kat, please tell her thank you. We have manners. We have manners. Shout out to TLO again. TLO stream sponsor who says $50 this time. She says, had to run back. I think everyone should have to take Constitutional 101 and read the Federalist Papers in high school. Black history, never us. We had a Black Republican congressman in the 1800s. What happened? Ask the Dems. So important what's going on today. It is. I do think there could be a focus on more legal education in high school. I think that would be good. We have our history courses, but are they enough? You know? And when you go to college, like everyone has a specific major. You have like one core class that you take. But as far as the education, I think you're onto something there. I think you're onto something there. Constitutional law was, believe it or not, guys, one of my favorite courses in law school. It was the most fascinating to me because I wanted to see how, like, you know, law transformed over the years and how we've developed as a society and having to litigate some of those issues. That is, some of you that have been through law school will probably look at me like, what the, no, Constitution, con law was your favorite class? What's wrong with you? Because the book is thick. It's on the shelf there, but it is the thickest book that I ever had in law school. Like laying down, that's how thick it is. It's the heaviest freaking book in law school. You want to know why it's so thick? Because when a Supreme Court decision comes out, you have opinions from all 9 of the justices. So each case is thick. Hashtag thick. Like it's super thick. Whereas you see the blue books on this side, those are thinner. You know, one of the criminal law books, a case could be 3 pages to 12 pages, maybe 19 if it's a long one. But in the Supreme Court cases, they're all long. And for law school students, they try to slim them down, but they're still long. They're still long. So people might think I'm crazy for saying that. Con law was one of my favorite classes, but I found it to be the most interesting. So shout out to Truth, Lies, and Opinions. I appreciate you, sis. You are the stream sponsor. I think you're in somewhere around 350 right now. And that level of confidence in me and this community means more than you know. And again, salute to our veterans, salute to you, and thank you so much for serving this country. Shout out to another lawyer in the chat. Shout out to MG Law, guys. Another one of my favorites. Super funny guy. Super down to earth. Check him out too here on YouTube. Brilliant attorney. I think he's still practicing and doing YouTube. I'm like, when do you have time, MG? He's been covering the Hale case. I've seen a few lawyers covering this on the YouTubes. And I just noticing that hashtag, what the hell? I haven't had a chance to get into it because we have been all over this Fanny thing, all over the Leticia James thing. But MG is amazing. And thank you, MG, for supporting the channel and sending out 5 AV to the 7th Power memberships. If you got them, guys, again, say thank you to MG. Say thank you to MG. He's a hardworking lawyer and he's been supporting your girl, and I support him anytime that I, have some time and I see him live. I'll pop in to see what's going on, say hi to the people on the panel, that sort of thing. So shout out to MG, shout out to Kat, shout out to Legally Live. So many of you guys have been in this community supporting. Shout out to Keela, who says, I agree with TLO. She's on point. I mean, a lot of people do. A lot of people do, Keela. And I think that's why what is happening in the next few weeks with all of these cases is going to be front and center. We all want to see the outcomes of these. We really do. We truly do, in the eyes of justice, but also just in the eyes of the country. So interesting stuff there. Well, listen, guys, it has been about an hour. I'm going to wrap up and get some rest, right? And try to see what I'm going to do with these freak off nails, because Diddy has traumatized me for life doing this to Cassie. But I'm going to save some of the content there. Again, Diddy, his house has been raided by Homeland Security. He is not in Cape Verde. Trust me, my family would know. Lead and I going live later today. And, check out that Cassie complaint. I mean, I'm probably going to do a recap video on it to make it easier for you guys. I'll talk to the editor because I did a full-blown deep dive with lead attorney when that Cassie complaint came out. And I also did it with Nick Ricada. So maybe we can do like a summary so you guys know where we are. But since that Cassie complaint dropped in November, there have been at least 6 or 7 other lawsuits filed against Sean Diddy Combs of women and men alleging that he's done some egregious things to them, this group. It ranges back from the early 1990s. There are some of those cases that are in the 2000s when these allegations happen, and even up until now, recently, Sean Diddy Combs' kids, 2 of his sons were found in handcuffs yesterday, or put in handcuffs as the search occurred. Anywho, see, I'm already like slurring my words. I need a break. Find me in the lead attorney later today on that one. But looking forward to seeing you guys. I hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Again, I will chop up this stream, make sure we put some timestamps in there. But I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe out there. Bye.